It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Tennessee Tech head women's golf coach, Coach Amanda Smith. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to become a college women's golf coach?
I think it started probably when I was playing, actually. My coach was a huge mentor for me, and he kind of showed me the way of what it took to really be a mentor and to really be somebody that was there for you outside the golf course. And so for me to see that and for me to be a part of that, that was something that I knew with my personality and I knew with the people that I surrounded myself with that I was able to get there. So I think it probably started back when I played in college. And then as I started to transition over to playing professionally, I kind of felt the embrace of what it took to be a part of a team and really how to engage and mentor young athletes as well. And I kind of wanted to start doing that myself. So it started pretty early for me.
Of course, what was it like playing for Indiana State?
It was awesome. It was something where it was smaller. So we kind of told ourselves if we can make it there, we can make it anywhere. There was probably we were a small team, but we kind of ganged together and we knew that we weren't the best at the very beginning, but if we really try to play hard and play for each other, usually it worked out in the end. So it was more of a family atmosphere. And like I said, my coach was like a mentor to me and he was a big reason for why I went to Indiana State. So it was all around probably one of the best decisions in my life.
Of course, what was it like getting to put on that blue Indiana State polo?
It was awesome. It was something that I knew I was probably about 6 hours away from home, and I knew that nobody else had gone that far in my family. Nobody else had played college athletics in my family. And so when I went to Indiana State, I knew I had to kind of live up to that. And I knew I kind of had to do something bigger for myself. So to do that with Indiana State and to do it with my teammates, it's important to me. And I like to know that I'm an alumni of Indiana State, and I like to know I can rep them anywhere I go to.
Of course, what were some of your collegiate accomplishments throughout your golf career?
So one of my biggest ones was probably getting second place at the Missouri Valley Conference my junior year. That was big for me, and then getting second place also at our home tournament. I think it was my senior year. Obviously, second place wasn't the best, but I think I knew I really tried hard. Like I was saying, I played for my teammates at the same time, played for my university, and to be able to know I could accomplish even trying to get in within top 5 or even to almost win the Missouri Valley Conference, for me, that was something of a stronghold. So that was two really, really important things that kind of helped shape my career.
Of course, what was it like playing for the Missouri Valley Conference and going to the tournaments?
It was fun. It was cool to kind of see the same teams that we usually played with. We weren't the best of teams. We weren't taking all the trophies, but it was awesome to get to know the girls, to get to compete against them, to have the ones where I still talk to this day. When I played professionally, there was one of our biggest rivals, Bradley, Danielle Lemick, who we kind of grouped together when we decided to play professionally. And that was something that we kind of looked at as, hey, we're a smaller conference. We were something that not a lot of people knew about us, but we were going to go out there and kick your butt. So it was cool to know that we were coming from a smaller conference and we could still play really well.
How is that transition like from going from college golf to playing professionally?
It's tough. It's something that it can be lonely at times. That's something that a lot of us had to try to embrace. And, you come from an aspect where you have your coach making all the decisions. You have your coach kind of really being an encouragement behind you. And unless you don't have that, some of us don't have that when we try to play professionally. So for me, I went over to Arizona and played on the Cactus Tour and played some opens and just tried to kind of embrace what I knew. So it was tough at times, I would say that, but it was also the best learning experience that I could have done for myself was just being able to go out there and to play at a high stage and to be around other athletes that, it was their job. It was something that you don't make the cut, you don't make any money, and who knows what you're going to do then. So for me, that was tough, but it kind of built my core.
Of course, how is that transition like, as you said, playing collegiately, you didn't have to pay and you had your coaches, and then going professionally, you have to pay to play and stuff.
Yeah, it was weird the first time I ever had to pay for golf balls. I was like, I don't get these for free. What is going on now? You become wise in how you spend your money. You become wise in what you invest in. You become wise in what you actually want to do with your time. It was a transition. It was something where coaches were making these decisions and they were spending all the money. And I kind of talked with my other teammates about this, is we always got free vacations, whether we knew it or not. We got to play some of the best golf courses. We got to go to Dallas. We got to go to California, all on our school's dime. So for me, it was just the first time I had to pay for golf balls, I was like, what's that all about? So you learn a lot. You learn a lot about how to be wise with your money. So I hope other college athletes can do that.
Of course, how is it like playing on the U.S. Women's Open?
It was good. It was something that, like I said, you're with some of the best players. I remember playing with the one who actually qualified that got to go to the U.S. Women's Open. Something just about tough competition and being with really good players. You kind of try to level yourself up. I unfortunately didn't make it, but at the same time, it's something where you just learn so much about how to compete and how to be with great players.
How is it like competing in the LPGA Tour?
It's tough. It's something that like I said, you're with some of the best players, but you're also improving your own game. There's going to be times where you might miss a cut. There's going to be times where you can make a cut, and it's kind of week to week. And it's something where, there's going to be times where it's going to be tough, but at the same time, those are the times that you really embrace the challenge and you learn a lot about the people around you. And getting to play in some crazy places out in California and some tough courses, you learn a lot. So I'll say it's a great experience, no doubt, at least for my college coaching, just to be able to teach it and to really give back, I think, was huge for me from those experiences.
Of course, what was it like coming back to Indiana State to become an assistant coach while also being a professional golfer?
That was a lot of fun. It was cool to kind of have what was actually really cool was I had one of my friends who's on the LPGA right now, Amy Olson. She was there for a summer as well, and I got to train with her, and the other athletes got to see that, and they got to ask us questions and really understand, okay, this is what it takes to become really good at your sport. And so for me, it was something where I could learn so much, but also learn how to teach. And that in return would help me. So I, to this day, have great relationships with some of the players that were around at that time too.
Of course, how is that transition like from going from professional golfer to now where you are now as a college coach coaching golf?
It's fun. It's you can see where you were at when you were learning the sport and where you can kind of grow from there. It's like I said, it's great to be a part of a team again. It's great to see the other athletes that they're learning how to go to college. They're learning how to become a student. They're learning just how to embrace life, but also play their sport. So for me, when I played professionally, it was all about me. So now I have to see, okay, there's younger people that are watching me, following me. How do I teach them? And how do they learn from me and everything that I do? So it's a big circle, but it's something that you kind of learn more about yourself in that way.
Of course, what was that like being a professional golfer and having people learn and watch you while learning after you?
It was something that I would just say you learn a lot. You kind of see your own attitude, how you mirror your attitude when you're around other people. A lot of the golfers I never really struck myself as a player that got mad. I never really was kind of flamboyant on the golf course, but I was very much where, I'm going to stick to it and I'm going to beat you by just hitting the straight ball, by just having a strategy and knowing how to kind of play that out. So for me, it was something where I wanted to kind of carry myself in the right way and be almost like a mentor to the younger ones, and to kind of be able to say, okay, you don't have to be flamboyant. You don't have to post all these pictures on Instagram. You don't have to be this #1 star. You can just go out there and play your game, and you can still beat people, and you can still embrace who you are as loving the sport. So I loved it that way.
What was it like getting to come back to your alma mater to coach for Indiana State as the assistant coach?
It was fun. My coach was, he's funny. And most people might think he's crazy at the beginning, but you kind of recognize that he's all intention. He's all honest. He's deliberate in what he does. He's more or less just unapologetically himself. And so for me to be around that every day, and for me to, like I was saying, still embrace Indiana State, I'll be in different places and they'll see I have ISU stuff on or Sycamore stuff on. And to be able to say I went back there and helped, and I was an athlete there and I helped coach there, there's something like a bond that's created between the two people that's kind of never ending.
Of course, what were some of your coaching accomplishments at Indiana State?
Indiana State. So the first year I actually got to go back. We got second place, and we had I want to say one senior and the rest freshmen. So for us to be able to do that when we got all these freshmen coming in, we got second place at conference that year. Was we were just astounded. We were so proud of the group for coming together and rallying together. You know, I think one of the players that I was really close with, she was from Norway. She actually ended up winning an event probably, I would say, a couple years after I had left when I was playing professionally, but just to kind of give her that edge. She'd always try to beat my record. So I had the 54 hole record at Indiana State. And it was every weekend I'd text her and I'd be like, all right, did you beat my record yet? Did you beat my record? She'd no. And then eventually she broke it and she won a tournament. So just to hear that and to kind of push her in that way, that was fun.
Of course, how easier was it to go back to Indiana State where you had a few years out, so some of those golfers that you played with were already gone?
It was weird. I would say that it was something that it was, you kind of had to relearn the culture and see really what the culture was like. You kind of had to build on the culture, and culture in golf is huge because it's a small team. You know, you rally together all the players and know that the culture is going to change. So for me to see that it was all new freshmen, there's 5 freshmen, you kind of had to recognize, okay, you guys have to stick together. You guys are packed. You guys have to play for each other. So seeing that and kind of being around that and being a part of it, that made my coaching experience even better.
How is it like, obviously, leaving your alma mater of Indiana State to become the Tennessee Tech head coach?
It was smooth. It was something that I had some really cool people in my life that really encouraged me to try it and to even go into coaching. That as I saw myself maybe at a smaller program and seeing myself take over as the assistant for men's and women's, it was, I would say, a little intimidating and maybe a little nervous because I'd be a part of coaching 2 teams. But at the same time, I knew what I had. I knew what knowledge I had, and that was easier for me to kind of transition in and really help out men and women. So it wasn't that bad, but it was also, yeah, it was a little nerve wracking. I was a little nervous going into it. I was young, but I knew I could do it. It was definitely a challenge I was ready to take on.
Of course, what was that like, obviously, as you said, taking over the men's as the assistant coach and women's as a head coach, and obviously with your playing experience only getting to play with women?
I think it was, I would say I was really grateful, one, to be able to be the head coach for the women's team, and then also to still stay the assistant for the men's team. You learn, I would say, probably they play the game so much different. The women and the men, and a lot of people ask me what's the difference. I would probably say for women, you're talking them into a shot, and most guys, you're talking them out of a shot because they just want to be wild and crazy all the time. So I think that for me was something I noticed. But at the same time, I think a lot of the guys, they respect a good women player. They respect a woman that can kind of hold her own. And just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you can't still get the score lower than somebody else. So for me, it wasn't that difficult. I'd played with a bunch of guys when I played professionally, and I knew how to beat them and I knew how to play with them. So for me, that wasn't anything that was outside my realm, but it was definitely, I knew it was going to be a heavy task to kind of come in and help with both teams. But at the same time, it wasn't anything that was outside my realm.
How is it feeling like becoming the first assistant coach for Tennessee Tech?
Oh, one, really grateful. I had the head men's coach, Paul Brown. He had kind of helped me transition into that for 2 years. I'd been his assistant, and I learned so much from him on one, the administration side. You don't realize how much there goes into the cost of tournaments or just making sure you're good with your budget. Something I had to learn on my own, especially. But he really helped me to kind of guide me into that, saying, hey, you can take over, you can be the head captain on this team. And I'm really grateful for our athletic director and our assistant athletic director to kind of say, hey, we really want you to be able to do this. And they pretty much came in the office and said, hey, you're going to be the women's head coach. Is that okay? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Sounds great. So just to have their faith in me, I think I was more grateful for that. And to have someone kind of teach me the ropes and to say, hey, you can do it now was really grateful for both those things.
Of course, what was that feeling like when you finally did get announced as the head women's golf coach?
It was cool. It was something that a lot of my friends had reached out to me, and I'm for me, like, the title, it's great and everything, but I'm just more I like the availability to know that both athletes have, or both sides have, a specific coach. It was very difficult for them when we went to tournaments to kind of split that our head coach's role. And for me to see that, hey, they have somebody that's going to be around them all the time, for me to see and say that I can be that person for them meant more to me than the title. It meant more to me to know that I was able to give them my time and to know that they had a coach that was available at that time. So just to know that, okay, hey, yeah, you're the head women's golf coach, that's one thing, that's a title. But for me, it was more about, I can give them my energy, I can give them more of my time now. So for me, that was important.
Of course, for you personally, what was it like to become a head coach for the first time in your coaching career?
Scary. I was scared. Scared of messing up, scared of what they would think, scared of other people's opinions. Those things creep in your mind. But at the end of the day, it's how am I helping them? How am I being a mentor to them? How am I kind of saying, golf is one thing. Golf is going to be a challenge in your life. You're going to have a lot of challenges in your life. So how are you dealing with it? How are you really trying to kind of navigate your way through what's supposed to be the best part of your life? So for me, it was something where it's a part of it, but it's not what it's all about. So for me, that's usually what it takes.
Of course, what is that balance like between being the head women's golf coach and the assistant men's golf coach?
It's not too bad, just because I have such a good relationship with our men's coach, being under him and knowing kind of the stuff that how he structures part of what they do on a daily basis and how we travel. I think it really wasn't that difficult to kind of be able to say, hey, what do you need me to do for you? And then, because he's my assistant as well, so we'll have days where we're getting ready to both travel, so we'll kind of help each other out of kind of getting things, all the gear ready to go, and then kind of being able to say, okay, this is what we need to do for administration side. So for me, it really wasn't that difficult because I was able to work under him from the start. So it wasn't too bad.
What does a typical golf match look like?
So we usually do tournaments. That's something that we will go on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So you're looking to do a practice round on a Saturday. Sunday might be your first round, 36 holes. And then the next day is usually 18 holes to finish out the round or finish out the tournament. So it's a lot. It's a lot where you have to be mentally ready. You have to be physically ready. And you pretty much just have to have all the little things down. So for us, we're doing that 5 times a semester. So you're traveling mainly on weekends. So you're missing family, you're missing a whole bunch, you're missing school. But you get to travel to some awesome places. There's times where I sit back and I'm like, oh my gosh, these little, like, these college kids get to go and play golf all day long. Like, what's so bad about that? Like, that is seriously the best thing ever. So it's usually you go on a Monday, or you go on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Sunday's practice round. First day is 36 holes, and the last day is 18 holes. A lot of golf, but it's a grind. It's a competition.
Of course, how do you keep the motivation between your players when it's a 3-day golf tournament?
I would say just the little things. What are they trying to get out of their game that weekend? It might be something they've been working on all week. It might be something where we kind of set our goal for ourselves. We might say, hey, this tournament, let's make so many birdies, or this tournament, let's stay under 30 putts. The little goals that we can kind of encourage them to make over the process and over the structure of the whole entire semester is something that they can look back on. It's also something that we can look back on and say, hey, did you accomplish this for this last tournament? Because if you didn't, then we can kind of readjust, and maybe for the next tournament, we can start to kind of form how your game needs to start looking and where we want it to be. Because usually the gap is somewhere in between there. So if we can kind of say, hey, maybe if you shoot under par, we'll get you ice cream or something like that. We can kind of throw a little bit of those encouragements, but it's more of, okay, where do we want to be at the end of the semester, and how are we looking at those little things every time?
Of course, what is it like, obviously, coaching them, and let's say game par 1, they might have a great game and then come into the second one not so well, and then finish out good on the third?
Yeah, that's a great question, because this weekend we went and played Austin P, and we really struggled the first round, and the second round we kind of still did the same thing. So what I encouraged them to do was really not let the game, or not let their emotions determine how they play. A lot of times you might have where you're struggling, like you're saying, but you kind of have to look back and say, okay, I've handled this before. or I know I'm a good player, I've practiced this before, and kind of having that block, that mental block, and saying, I'm letting my emotions, I'm getting nervous over a shot now, or I'm getting scared to hit this golf ball. But you kind of have to train yourself to have that little block and say, oh, okay, I'm frustrated, or okay, I'm nervous right now for some reason. But at the same time, you kind of have to say, I've done this before. I've played in harder tournaments, or I've played in more challenging tournaments. So you kind of have to say, last round, I'm going to forget about it. And I know I'm a good player. So the next round, I'm going to go out there and shoot under par if I need to.
Who are some of the teams that you faced in these tournaments?
So we usually stick with lower level schools. I'd probably say Austin P is one we usually face because they're so close to us. Lipscomb, Moorhead, Belmont, we usually face a lot. Murray is another team. Oh my gosh, is another team we face a lot. And Jacksonville State, usually go against them. And then we're going to go down to Spartanburg in the next couple of weeks. So getting to play against some South Carolina teams is going to be a lot of fun.
Of course, what is it like, obviously, getting to play a team against those teams like Lipscomb?
It's good. They have really built their program. Shout out to Jessie. I know she just left the program, but she built it to be a powerhouse. It was something where she had some transfers come in. She had just some really core players that have just really built their resume. And it's nice to play with those players. It's nice to actually see this is where college golf is leveling up. That's something that's huge for me to see. When I played, they were winning tournaments with high 70s. Now you can barely even get top 10 with high 70s. So seeing the transition of what women's golf has become, I mean, Lipscomb is one of those key factors. They've really helped themselves in developing themselves to be a really good program.
Of course, what does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to become college golfers?
So it usually starts with any type of contact, usually through email is the best. I'll get text messages, I'll get different recruiters sending me videos. So usually just a quick little point of introducing yourself. I love to see where they have their schedule already outlined for the next couple of weeks. That shows me that, hey, I'm going to be doing this one tournament, but that's not the only thing I'm doing. I have a list of different tournaments that I'm going to be trying to play in. So for me, I love seeing a schedule. I love seeing your past events and seeing what you shot, no matter good or bad, just because you can keep out the bad scores, but that doesn't tell me anything about how well you do after that. So being able to see all your scores, what the field size was like, if it was a tough golf course. I mean, if you got first place out of 2 people, that's great, but that really doesn't tell me too much. So kind of telling me the whole entire field size. You can go to some AJGA events, but that's not all that coaches look at. We look at different ones in different areas. We look at how many qualifiers you're getting into, some of the bigger events. So for me, it's great to see the schedule lined out. That way I can maybe too go follow you. Maybe I can go see you go play. Or we can get something on the schedule saying, hey, I saw you have an open weekend here. Love to see you come to the university. I'll show you around. So having that initial email of saying, hey, this is what my schedule is like, would love to talk to you more, is usually what helps to get my eye.
Of course, can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've started to build for the Tennessee Tech women's side of golf?
Yes. So I think what really helped is I had some really good seniors that encouraged that there's a lot to do with communication. There's a lot to do with actually putting in the time and pushing each other. Something that I really like to embrace is, like I was saying before, my college coach, he made it a point for us to play for each other and to play for something bigger than ourselves. So anytime I can introduce that, or anytime I can encourage that, hey, when your teammate's slacking off at practice, it's on you to encourage them. It's on you to say, hey, let's go practice our putting now. Let's go hit these shots. And to really have that internal kind of drive to be able to do that at practice for yourself, not only to know it's going to help you, but also know it's going to help your teammate in the end. So anytime I can do any team bonding where we're kind of embracing that, I'm going to do it, because for me, that really helped me and my teammates.
What are some of the things that you look at in those high school golfers to get recruited to become Tennessee Tech Golden Eagles?
That's a great question. It's more of the tournaments they're getting into. It's more of kind of how, I would say, how really they want to play. It's something that, they can go to their swing coach all the time. It's great to see videos. It's great to see how much they're learning, but, do they want to be playing throughout the summer? Do they want to play in some high level tournaments? Do they want to put themselves in some big fit or a small fish in a big pond type of tournaments? So I like to kind of see that as like a whole spectrum, but also when I'm going and watching, I like to kind of see what they've worked on so far, or what they're really raw at. So some of them might be raw with chipping. That tells me that they've mainly probably work on the range a lot. Some of them might be raw with their iron swings, but they're phenomenal with their putting. That shows me they're really creative. So I can kind of see a different transition in some players. And I like to know that you're creative. You kind of have this prospect of saying, okay, I can do this, but I can also start doing this if I need to. So as a coach, you always want to have players that have good attitudes as well. If I'm out there and you're screaming at your parents and you're ticked about them not bringing you a Snickers bar at the turn or something, then usually it's going to happen to me. They're going to get ticked at me for not bringing them a Snickers bar. So we see that kind of stuff. It's just how you treat people at the end of the day too. That's something that we see a lot of.
What does the official visit look like at Tennessee Tech for those prospective student athletes?
So usually bring them into our golf course. So we have a golf course here at Tech. It's about 3 minutes from the campus. So bring them in, show them our office. The head men's coach and I, we share an office, and it's somewhere where the players can go at the beginning of their practice and just hang out if they want to. We also have a big board that shows what the practice is for the day. So we invite them in there. We kind of get to know them a little bit. And then from there, we take them to campus, give them a little tour of what it's like for school life. And then we'll go to our putting facility, which is an indoor putting facility at the football stadium. That's specifically for ourselves. And then we'll go to our athletic performance center, huge weight room designed by one of the actual members of a CrossFit team. So CrossFit Mayhem is in Cookeville. It was started in Cookeville. So that's big. So he does a phenomenal job for all of our teams. So we get to go there. Then we take them to our Hooper Eblem Center where the basketball team plays. That's also where our athletic offices are. So they get to see the whole entire stadium, the arena, and kind of get to meet maybe our athletic director who's in there. And then we take them to where we have our golf cube at, so our indoor hitting facility. So they get a top notch and get to see a lot of stuff when they come for a visit. But more than anything, we kind of just walk around, kind of tell them what we're all about, what they want to get out of a school. Because sometimes they might not like the actual school, but they love our facilities. So just kind of gauge what it's like to kind of be able to show them our beautiful campus, but also kind of gauge what they want to get out of a university, because that's important too.
Of course, as a head coach, what is it like obviously seeing them fall in love with the campus and fall in love with the facilities and get to put on that polo jersey and represent Tennessee Tech?
It's something that's special, and not only to them, but to us. It's something that we knew what it was like to kind of have that dream and to kind of say, okay, this is something I've worked hard for. And for us to be able to give that to the athletes and to say, you know, you're a part of something bigger than yourself now, or all this hard work is really paying off, but you know, it's something bigger than what you could imagine. It's going to be hard. It's going to be just a challenge, but it's going to be worth it. So it's cool to say, hey, like, you're good. Come on with us, and we'll take care of you. So I think it's fun to kind of now make the calls and to hear the calls and saying, some of them are really awkward. They're really nervous, but some of the players they'll say, yeah, I want to be a Golden Eagle, and you can't do anything but smile and know that they're in good hands. So it's fun for me.
What are some of your future plans for the Golden Eagles women's golf program?
I think we actually are looking into building a short game facility. So our course right now, unfortunately, doesn't have a specific short game area. We have one small green, and it's just kind of like tipped like that. So there's really no undulation in it. And we have one putting green for all the people that come play. So right now we're really blessed to have some awesome donors and awesome supporters every year. And so we're now transitioning to build a new short game facility. So I've never done anything like it. It's something that it's where they ask me questions, Amanda, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I can look it up. I can research and find out what the best thing is. But I'm really excited for the players. It's something that just to see it be built and something they can use, gosh, it's gonna be amazing. So I'm really looking forward to that.
What advice would you give those high school athletes that are looking to become college women's golfers?
That's great. I would just say stick to it and know kind of what you want to get out of it. You only get in what you put out. So it's going to be something where college golf, I would say it's a little bit easier because you're playing all different courses, you're playing all different tournaments, but it's still golf. So you can go to a really, really big school or you can go to a really small school, but you're still playing golf. You're still being able to play some phenomenal courses. It doesn't matter if you have the best team on your shoulder or the, like, I would say not best team, but like the highest level, like top Power 5, or you have a mid-level team. As long as you get to play the sport and you get to actually travel, for me, that's huge to say, okay, would you rather go to a school where you're never going to play the game, or you're going to go and play every single weekend and you're going to get to play the game that you love? So being able to research the different schools and seeing kind of how they do things, I think for me, that's the biggest advice I can give to some younger athletes.
What advice would you have those college golfers looking to represent and then go on to the professionals, whether it's the LPGA or the Women's Open?
I think just keep believing in that dream. It's something that it could fade away, that you got a lot of stuff going on in your life, but there's going to be times where it's going to be tough. But if you have that dream and you really want to do it, you're going to put in the work to do it. And my mentor would always tell me, you do what you value. And if you value the game and if you value using it as a platform to make yourself better, you're going to get there eventually. So just seeing that and knowing that that's a big goal for yourself and believing that, it's kind of cliche. It really is. But at the same time, if you really love it, then you're going to do what you need to do to get there. And you're not going to let distractions kind of get in your way. So I think it's more of that kind of letting yourself see it when you need to see it and going for it. So I think that for me, that's the best advice I can give to you.
What advice would you have those golfers such as yourself that were professionals and went and made that jump to the college level to coach?
It's fun. It's crazy because I see a lot of my friends doing that, or I see a lot of the young assistants now that are starting to do that, or I'm at tournaments and some of them might come up to me and say, hey, I want to coach, like I want to do this. And you're almost like, okay, like you can do it. I would probably just say you need to learn a lot about NCAA rules. I would say that. You need to learn a lot about driving a big van. You need to learn about handling 18-year-olds' emotions all the time. I would say I'd advise you on reading books about that. But I think just allowing yourself to enjoy it and to fully embrace it. There's going to be times where you just want to grab the club and hit the ball for them. You can't, obviously, but you could teach them a lot of good stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that that needs to be shared. And you worked hard to know that stuff, and obviously they would really love it if you taught them it. And that's something that's big for me.
What advice would you have those college coaches looking to get started, and even head coaches looking to get started in coaching?
Probably just you don't realize that you'll figure it out eventually. Maybe if you're nervous that you don't know enough, or that you have imposter syndrome about certain things, that you tend to just figure it out. You're going to get put through the fire. You're going to learn a lot of lessons, but at the same time, you're going to have to just figure it out on the fly, and you're never really ready. You kind of learn when you go.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
So I'm on Instagram and I'm also on Twitter. My Instagram name is at DJASmith152. I used to be a DJ in college, so that's why it's there. And then my Twitter name is Mandarin23. So those are my two big social medias.
Where can my listeners find Tennessee Tech's women's golf program at?
So we have an Instagram as well, and then a Twitter page. So you can just do at TN Tech Women's Golf. And then also it's the same for the men's kind of programs as well. So TN Tech at Men's Golf, at TCU Men's Golf. There we go. That's it.
That's great advice. Thank you again, Coach Amanda Smith, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as the head women's golf coach for Tennessee Tech.
Well, thank you, Brandon. I enjoyed talking with you.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Amanda Smith, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you, Brandon.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.